26% on the nation's report part. That's percentage you will for 12 credit for the subjects in math. In America, we had everything as an exceptional country, but the 26% sounds exceptional to you? Raise your hand if you think as the country we need to do way better than that. I'm with you. We all need math, for why are so many kids confused by it? It is because only 26% of people hardwired from math, left 70% are not. After working with thousands of kids, I can tell you this is the case at all. Kids don't understand math because we've been teaching it at the humanized subject. But if we made math human again, it would make sense again. You're probably wondering how is math every human in the first place, so think about it. Math is human language, just like English, Spanish, or Chinese, because allow people to communicate with each other. Even in ancient time, people need language for math to conduct trade, to build monuments, and to measure of land for farming. This idea of math language isn't exactly new. A great philosopher once said, "The laws of nature are written in the language of mathematics." So you see, even Galileo agreed about it. But somewhere along the line, we're taking the language of math with about the real world around us, and we abstract that beyond the recognitions, and that's why kids they get confused.
We'll see this third grade Californian math standard and people make sense when 8 year old. Understand the fraction 1 over b as the quantity formed by one part when a whole is partitioned into b equal parts. Understand a fraction a over b as the quantity formed by a part of size 1 over b. And if you give this description to an 8-year, you probably get a reaction like this. To math experts, the standard makes sense, but to kids, it's an absolute torture. I tell this example specifically because the fractions are foundational to algebra, trigonometry, and even calculus. So kids don't understand fraction in elementary middle schools because it had half a rather way to had them in the high school. But there's a way to make subtraction simple and easy for kids to understand. Yes, just remember that the maths is language and use that to fear damages. For example, when I teach first grader how to add the subtraction, I start with the apple plus lesson. For say yes, 1 apple plus 1 apple, and people often say 2, with partly correct. Half of them include the word as well as with the math of the language, but not just 2, it's 2 apples. Next this, 3 pencils plus 2 pencils. You all know that pencil plus pencil is pencils. So everyone, how many pencils? 5 pencils is right, and the key is you include the word. I tried this lesson with my 5 years old niece once. After she's added pencils and pencils, I asked her, "What's 4 billion plus 1 billion?" And my aunt overheard in distance. She scolded and said, "Are you crazy? She's been kindergarten. How's she supposed to know 4 billion plus 1 billion?" I'm daunted. My niece Vanessa, counting, looks up and say, 5 billion? And I say, "That's right, it is 5 billion." My aunt stood ahead not that, because she didn't expect that from the 5 years. But all you have to do is take a language approach and math become intuitive and easy to understand. Then I asked her a question that kindergarten are definitely not supposed to know. What 1/3 plus 1/3? And she immediately answered 2/3. Such as you are wondering, how can she possibly know that when she doesn't know about numerator and denominator yet? You see, she wasn't thinking about numerator and denominator. She solved the problem this way, and she used 1 apple plus 1 apple as her analogy to understand 1/3 plus 1/3. So even a kindergartner can add subtraction. You better believe that every third grader can do it as well.
Just for fun, I asked her an algebra question. What 7x squared plus 2x squared? And then the 5 years correctly answered 9x squared. And she didn't explore to fight through the doubts. So when the one people said were hard either win or not, it's not true. Math is a human language, so we have all the ability to understand this. We need to take a language approach to maturely because too many kids are lost and they are unresponsive. And it doesn't have to be that way. I worked with angry, frustrated high school student one who couldn't pass the algebra because she only knew 44% of the typical tasks. I have told her that such a kind of word only know the 40% of the alphabet, holding me back. She couldn't parkour or public relations, and she had no confidence in that. As a result, she needs a computer in herself. I've told her we have to start with motivation. Because one thing all of you have with your park, everything gets easier and you will be happy in the past packs, being happy with the incident. What do you think? And she said, okay. But she systematically learned the 10 to 4 weeks. And yes, when a multiplication has a language in better than that, you'll be surprised how many kids don't realize 7 times 3 can be spelled out as 7 times 3, which just means 3 7 times, just like that. So when kids see this way, they quickly realize that the replicate is slow and confusing. So they gladly memorize that 3 7 times on the way to 21. The product teenager put artists to dropping out, becoming fluent and confident in multiplication with the game changers, because for the first time we can focus on the problem solving instead of counting on the fingers. Noticed the corner and she figured out that 2 years earlier at 440 per standard month would cost you $10,680, and she looking at me disapprovingly and said, it's a polycheck that's expensive. At that moment, that nothing wonder causing problem for her, but she looks keeping a math solved problem as the reason to adult.
As an educator, it's my duty to challenge kids to be tired. So I leave you with this challenge. Our country is stuck at 26% proficiency, and I challenge you to pass number higher. This is important because mathematical thinking not build young mind, but our kids needed to imagine and develop their future. Meeting the challenge can be as simple as apple plus apple. Insist that we teach math the human language and we will get the stage sooner rather than later. Thank you.